So, the protagonists and the villains are not so good. Even despite those, let's try to look at the story independently from the game's characters. Does the game manage to tell a coherent story? A story that exists without any sort of major amount of plot holes? A story that ultimately makes sense, and one that is enjoyable to go through. Dark Cloud 2 is one of those games where it's not enjoyable to play if you think about what's going on. If you bother to question anything in the game, you're going to end up feeling unsatisfied. Why did you choose this narrative? Why are the villains so underdeveloped? Why are there so many plot holes? You're going to put yourself through a lot of unnecessary stress trying to rationalize all level 5's decisions. What you will find is that there is no method to this madness. It tries to do everything. It tries to be an epic time travel adventure. It tries to be philosophy. It tries to write engaging villains and heroes. But what Dark Cloud 2 does not succeed in is being a good game. The game is overly ambitious, to the point where it actively begins to harm itself. It's as if the writers had visions for the game and were going to follow through on them no matter what. There are so many moments that don't make sense from an in-game standpoint and from a writer's perspective. Moments that literally contradict the story and they're just not even interesting. I'll give you an example. Colossus Mode. An interesting dilemma is ruined because for some reason someone wanted Giant Robot in Dark Cloud 2. It's seriously the only way. It comes out of nowhere, it takes away personal development from the characters for no apparent reason. The game is written to fit these dramatic shots in without any sort of concern for the characters and plot itself. Other than that, if Zero Escape had ever taught me anything, it's that if you add time travel to your story, you better be prepared for the consequences. The use of time travel as an explanation for your many plot points is not sustainable. You're going to reach a point where the weight of your time travel inevitably leads you to dead ends. You have to take drastic measures in order to try to make sense of your plot.
What they eventually uncovered was the fact that the device was not made by man.
Zero Time Dilemma tried. It dug itself too deep with its crazy plot twist and had to save itself somehow. The way they did it was laughably pathetic, to introduce this crazy, totally convenient technology that had never been part of this series up to that point. But to their credit, they did try to make it work. Other games, like Dark Cloud 2, have more plot holes than SpongeBob's asshole. However, the writers of the game had given up a long time ago in trying to make the story make sense. What you end up with is this abomination of storytelling. No one cares enough about the game to make the story make sense, and you have it rolling around in its own filth. Ugh, look at it prod around. What had the potential to be this amazing game is morphed into this disgusting mess. Fun, interesting characters, crazy, potentially dramatic settings, and time travel. The complete freedom to use time travel in your story is never used to its full potential. For how logically inconsistent the story is, it somehow manages to tell the most boring, generic, undramatic story for its setting. If you want to enjoy Dark Cloud 2, don't think. The only way that you'll ever be able to garner any enjoyment from the game is by shutting off your mind completely and not questioning anything the game does. It's like an ice sculpture, beautiful, intricate, but the slightest bit of force, the slightest bit of questioning will instantly cause it to shatter. This part of the series will focus entirely on the story aspect of the game. I feel that it's most effective to start at the very start of the game and make my way onto the very end. I'll focus on specific moments of the game and try to make an effort to question them. See if the logic in that moment makes sense based on what the game said earlier or later on. The game starts off with Monica finding Gaspard fresh off the death of her father. It's not known right away, but it's revealed that Gaspard had killed King Rampant in order to retrieve the Moonstone. Well, right away we have some serious issues. It's said later in the game that the Alamelia can only be used by those of a good heart. It's also revealed that the stone refused to become Emperor Griffins and went to the owner's daughter, Monica, instead. This good heart thing is going to come up much more in the video, and I feel that one of the counter arguments would be that it's just a legend. I'm going to assume in the video that the good heart clause is real. The Alamelia are inconsistent in a lot of ways, but what remains truth is that the stones have the power to refuse certain people. The people they go to and the people they refuse don't really make sense under the good heart clause, but what it proves is that they do have the capability. It's not as if everyone can pick them up, and it's not as if no one can pick them up. There is some level of restriction, and despite the good heart clause being contradicted, I feel that the good heart clause was intended to be that restriction, legend or not. Another way you can look at it is it's supposed to represent how what we perceive to be true could have been totally different generations ago, but was altered throughout history. This is never mentioned or elaborated upon, so I honestly feel that the formal explanation for it is what the author intended as to how they were able to work. There's no good reason to include this line. Its existence is totally unnecessary to the writing of the game, and it's a mystery as to why it was put in the first place, considering it just leads to more questions and contradictions.
Griffin didn't get his hands on the stone, though. The stone refused to become Griffin's, and instead chose King Raybrandt's daughter, Monica, as its new owner.
When they say Griffin, I'm not quite sure who they are referring to. We clearly see that Gaspard is the individual who killed King Rabrant, so is Griffin a collective term for his army, or is it about Emperor Griffin himself? I did check the Japanese version of the game to see whether it was more clear. However, I still couldn't make it out. Gaspard's Japanese name is Gilettoni, the bloody parts of the French Revolution but with that signature Italian flair. I feel it'd be best to break this situation into two different cases. If they are referring to Gaspard, they are saying that he was unable to pick it up because he did not have a good heart. I find the whole idea behind this to be quite strange. When they said that the Alamelia can only be used by people with good hearts, it was a foreshadow to who Emperor Griffin really was. But I find it incredibly hard to believe that Gaspard would not qualify under the same rules. Both of them were misled, both of them committed actions which were considered bad, and both of them started off as decent people. Emperor Griffin gets the pass, but Gaspard doesn't. If I were to compare their actions, well, Gaspard killed a guy, not good of course, but look what Cyrus did. It's incredibly likely that Cyrus did kill people when he destroyed the world. He clearly intended to get rid of the origin points of the people in the future. And really, he's the one responsible for manipulating Gaspard in the first place. You can't call it a plot hole necessarily, Alamelia work in strange ways, but it's incredibly inconsistent and really proves that the game was made up as they went along. With this scenario in mind, where did Gaspard run off to? He escaped somehow, but where? I saw this blue light and I thought it was a clear reference to the Moonstone, but it can't be that. He manages to teleport away from the area, but then, how does he end up in Max's time? How is Gaspard able to time travel without the use of an Alamelia? Is he using a Starglass? But Starglasses are temporary. When the heroes used a Starglass at the Cape Lighthouse, it was a temporary event. It had to be, or else there'd be two Lins running around in the same universe. But then, in Chapter 8, but is that canon? It can't be both. He does have some sort of teleportation device in Chapter 5, but that one's a red color. Would that mean that he's going to the future? It's not a Starglass then. It means that Gaspard has the power to time travel between past and future. But he doesn't have either the Alamelia. It could just be a type of future technology, I suppose. It really undermines the value of the Alamelia themselves and opens up some interesting questions. Well, for one, Gaspard's technology is directly superior than both Max and Monica's. He's able to create a time gate at any spot. Max and Monica are limited. They can only time travel at any given time gate. That's why they couldn't use the map feature to instantly go to the future. I thought the implication was that time travel was some sort of rarity in the Dark Cloud universe. Why would anyone use these Alamelia instead of what Gaspard is using? Really, these Alamelia are a liability to carry around. It leaves them open to be taken by people. It would be the smarter option to lock them in a safe vault and use whatever Gaspard is using. Scenario 2 would be that they are referring to the actual big bad himself, Emperor Griffin. If that were the case, then it would mean that Gaspard has the capability to hold the Alamelia. He has a good enough heart after all. Well now, how does Gaspard manage to get back to Emperor Griffin? Keep this in mind, Gaspard and Emperor Griffin are separated by 10,000 years. The game literally says that history had to be changed in order to develop technology that can transport you back 10,000 years in the past. So there's no way for him to get back 10,000 years. Well, at least that we're aware of. Perhaps there was some alien technology lying around. There is the Starglass, but it can't be that either. If the Starglass were to allow people to travel back 10,000 years, then the protagonists would have done so already. And even if it did go back 10,000 years, how would Gaspard be able to get back to the present day? Monica was trapped in Max's time when she used it in Chapter 8. Anyways, stretch your imagination and somehow believe that Gaspard had the means to travel back 10,000 years in the past to Emperor Griffin. Yes, I can't believe it either. Gaspard goes to Emperor Griffin and he hands him the Moonstone. What's the issue of this? Why wouldn't he be able to hold it? It's shown that he can carry the Sun Alamelia. It's even shown that he has no problems holding both the Moon and Earth Alamelia in Chapter 6. Why wouldn't he be able to pick it up this time? And speaking of that, how did the Moonstone get back to Monica? It's 10,000 years away from Monica. How would she be able to retrieve it after it refused Emperor Griffin? Did the stone itself travel 10,000 years in the future? It's ridiculous to think about, but it's not as if the villains had any obligation to return it to her. We move on with our unresolved questions, and now we end up in the circus area. Max goes up to a clown to hand him a ticket when it is stolen by a red-headed boy. We later find out that this red-headed boy is actually Monica Rabrant herself. How is this possible? Keep in mind that this is not an illusion. Max is able to grab onto the child and people will remark when they see him.
Did you see a red-haired boy run by?
Oh, yes, just now. I'm certain I saw him heading that way.
What this means is that Monica was able to appear in Max's time with a completely different physical body than what she has later on. What we assume here is that Monica is using something like the monster transformation in order to look like that. This is decently plausible, but still, it leaves a lot of questions open. Think about it. You would be at a clear disadvantage by not using this technology. You would want to get this technology for both Max and Monica in order to disguise yourselves and not let anyone know who you are. It caught Flotsam off guard. There's a clear benefit to using it. You would not want people to know that you had the Amelia with you. It's never a major factor in the story, but from the point of view of the characters, you would want that extra level of disguise. It doesn't have to be in the way I described, but it would still be nice to have the characters acknowledge this technology to even see why they couldn't use it. There are always going to be constraints in the game, I'm aware, but I don't feel like this is one of them. In fact, I feel it's actually wasted potential. It's a perfect opportunity to really make the future world of Dark Cloud 2 relevant while also making sense from a character perspective. To have this crazy idea that you can appear look like anyone, it opens up a lot of perspectives from a narrative standpoint and makes the future feel like a legitimate part of the world. If this technology was widely available, what would people look like? How would it change relationships? Would it lead to genetic engineering? It's interesting to think about, and I feel like it's wasted potential on behalf of Level 5. Another issue I have with this red-headed boy is that he's seemingly able to teleport anywhere. Let me show you what I'm saying. So, the red-headed boy is first seen in the circus area. He is physically there, people can see him, there are no major issues. He turns into blue dust and is never seen again. Well, where did he go? The closest thing I can assume is it's some sort of teleportation device, which is sort of an excuse, but it's technically not a plot hole. Not good writing, but not a plot hole. And then, later on, he actually reappears when Max and Flotsam are talking. What's different this time is that only Max can see him. Everyone can see him before, but why can't Flotsam see him now? I suppose even this one can be explained through the idea that this is Max's conscience speaking to him. However, this one goes too far. The last time we see the kid is that he reappears on top of the Blackstone 1 at the end of Chapter 1. It's never explained as to how Monica got on the train, but she was able to do it in a matter of seconds without anyone noticing. I'm sure you can explain it using some sort of weird technology, however, it's completely ridiculous to have this crazy power that allows you to teleport on moving objects. What a convenient power to have. It sure would be dandy, eh?
I'll wait for my chance and try to get on the ship.
This power would have been useful on numerous occasions that actually occur in the story, but it's never referred to again. At the very least, it would be nice to actually have the characters question Monica as to how she was able to do it. I would definitely be curious if I were them. I did talk about this scene in part 2, but I'm going to focus on it now through the perspective of storytelling. What we are told is that Emperor Griffin destroyed the world, except for Palm Brinks, in order to find the Earth Amelia. Okay, so Emperor Griffin is relevant in the year 20,000. It's said they exist 10,000 years in the past from Monica's period, which would be 30,000. The future is ahead of Max by 100 years, so Max's time is 29,900 years. And what we were just told occurred 15 years ago on 29,885 years. My first question is how did Emperor Griffin destroy the world? This one lets you go back 100 years, this one lets you go forward. This one lets you destroy the entire world 10,000 years in the past and lets you mind control anyone. Not very balanced, but whatever. Emperor Griffin has the power to destroy the entire world from 10,000 years in the past with the Amelia. If he knew the Earth Amelia was in Palm Brinks, then why would he destroy the world? If his purpose was to destroy the world to erase the origin points, well, he doesn't redestroy the origin points after Max and Monica rebuild them. It's in his best interest to not let the origin points remain. He could send Gaspard and his Death Ark to destroy them even if he was incapable. Sindane is rebuilt. Oh, just send the Death Ark to burn it all. This guy can sense to a reasonable degree wherever the Earthstone is. Why is he searching for it at this particular time period? The 3 stones have clearly existed for at least 10,000 years.
Humans started attacking and killing each other, just for a few shiny stones.
Why would Emperor Griffin bother with this one out of all his options? Especially considering that the Amelia would have been very close to him at the destruction of the Moonflower Palace. It's not nitpicky, it's a reasonable question. Considering his degree of knowledge and apparently omniscience, it's unclear why he would choose this time period instead of something much closer. And another question, how is he able to destroy anything? You go back 10,000 years and you see Emperor Griffin. He's clearly not capable of destroying anything until he gets all 3 Amelia. But he's destroying things in order to find all 3 Amelia. It's heavily implied that the siege on Moonflower Palace was in order to get all 3 Amelia. So they all existed in that time period. How does he get the Sun Amelia? It's never explained, but he somehow manages to get it. The cutscene implies that the invading armies on the Moonflower Palace managed to gather all 3 Amelia. Few usually means at least 3, not 2, and of course not 1. I'm assuming there's only 3 at Lamelia, but there could have been more. The Sunstone somehow managed to get into Cyrus's hands, but the others do not. Well, I thought the Alamelia were only be able to be used by people with good hearts. If he managed to get the Sunstone, I'm not quite sure as to why he was unable to get the other 2. Alexander makes sense, but it's made clear that somehow these guys managed to gather all 3 at Lamelia. But these armies don't have good hearts. I mean, they could have good hearts, but then it seems like everyone has a good heart. Well, except for Gaspard, even the Dark Element is able to use them. Here's my final question. If Emperor Griffin has the power to destroy the world, as is shown he does, why does he need the Alamelia in the first place? It's said they lay the world to waste. What reason would he have for dropping the moon onto the earth if he's already able to destroy it? If he wants to make the humans suffer, why would he choose the option which kills the most life forms in the least amount of time? The moon falls, they are going to be dead in 5 minutes. They are not going to be able to suffer for very long. Wouldn't you want to do something that would really make them suffer? Summon an earthquake, wait for them to rebuild, and do another earthquake? I'm trying to understand that thought process between Cyrus's actions. I cannot find a good reason as to why he wouldn't just destroy the world, his goal, when him destroying the world was something that he already did. We reached the major point in Chapter 3, the Cape Lighthouse. Max, Monica, and Lynn decide to use a Starglass in order to try to save Crest. So these 3 use a Starglass and they go to whenever this event happened. The people in the scene so far are Max, Monica, Crest, Lynn, and Lynn? There's 2 Lynns. They don't see each other, but remember this. It will be important later. Orange Lynn stays at the bottom and Max and Monica go up. What I am not understanding is how both of the Lynns can exist in the same time period. I know they can both physically exist, but it's never remarked upon by any of the other characters. Starglasses cannot go to the future. They can only go to the past. It says that the Starglass would reverse the flow of time. The flow of time in Dark Cloud 2 progresses towards the future, so by reversing the flow of time, you would be going back to the past. If I were in the past and I wanted to go to the future, I would have to make it so that time itself would progress backwards, and then I would have to reverse the backwards time using a Starglass in order to go in the future. I'm pretty sure no one has the power to actually change the fundamentals of time, rather they are just playing around with its current rules. So that means everyone here is stuck in that time period. You can still time travel in it, but you're in a different timeline than the one you were originally in. Orange Lynn is stuck in this new timeline where there was originally Blue Lynn. The last we see of Blue Lynn is her with Crest's body in the burning tower. And then, somehow, it cuts to a scene of Orange Lynn in the same dead body of Crest on top of the tower. Orange Lynn was at the bottom of the tower and Blue Lynn was at the observation deck. They would have to see each other because they both left their original positions. Where does Blue Lynn go? Orange Lynn is still there, but Blue Lynn is missing. Blue Lynn has seemingly disappeared from existence. Perhaps they threw her off the lighthouse. That's quite dark. And then, what happens after this? So a deviation from the original timeline, Lynn decides to become a great sage. But now, you're in a time period where there are duplicates of you. The lighthouse is not broken like it originally was, the Starglass cannot reverse, they are in a different timeline. This event took place a small time before the 2 arrive in Balance Valley, so that means, as this is happening, the previous events of the game are happening at the same time. Flotsam is still not a robot, Jurek has not been revived, and the Starlight Temple has not been rebuilt. There is a second pair of Max and Monicas that are going to find each other eventually. Truthfully, this would be cool as hell if it were the case. It would be really interesting to see that if you mess around with time travel, you make something crazy like this happen. It would be totally awesome. Of course, Dark Cloud 2 does not do that. It plays it very safe and just ignores its plot holes. Actually, the Starglass, Max, and Monica have no way to get anywhere. There is no Black Zone 1. They are stranded in Balance Valley. No Georama either. You cannot reverse Starglasses. That was the central point of Monica returning in Chapter 7. Once you take the Starglass, you go to a moment of great importance, and you try to change the situation. You are stuck in that time period. Why isn't the tower destroyed? It's on fire. The exact same things happened from the previous timeline. They attacked the moon crystal and the lighthouse got on fire. It was destroyed that time, but for no apparent reason it was saved this time. Hence, how could they stop the fire? There's no signs of permanent damage either. It's a stone lighthouse, but there's still wood supporting it. Despite everything I mentioned, the 2 go to the future and meet up with the Great Sage Crest. The moon crystal lets you, apparently, know anything about anything. You know what this would be a great time for? Max, ask the moon crystal where your mother is. That's more of a character issue, but I forgot to mention it in part 2, and I wanted to say it.
To the prophecy of the great sage, Crest, the Earthstone existed 115 years in the past.
It stated that the rebel army had asked the Great Sage Crest as to where the Earthstone was. They revealed it as 115 years in the past. That's a reasonable point, but with this in mind, it never occurred to anyone to actually ask where Emperor Griffin was. What the heroes had spent 2 chapters doing could have easily been resolved 15 years ago provided the rebel army asked the question. Why wouldn't they ask where Emperor Griffin was? They're the ones fighting him. This part confuses me too. There's a lot of different dates here, so let me try to make sense of it. So, an unstated amount of time before, roughly about 20 years, Elena was told that the Earthstone existed 115 years in the past. How is Elena able to travel back 115 years? She has no Alamelia, star glasses cannot work, and it is seemingly impossible. Even if she did go with someone with the Moonstone, she would still be 15 years ahead of that time. Why does Gaspard need a fire squall to begin with? Emperor Griffin has the capacity to destroy the world. He can destroy the origin point himself. And you can't say he can't do it because he doesn't have the Alamelia. Look at this.
Griffin destroyed a mountain and created a whole army of golems.
Emperor Griffin, without the Alamelia, has the power to destroy mountains 10,000 years in the past and turn into a golem army. And this too, if the fire squall breaks, big deal. You have a Death Zeppelin which can literally bomb Heimrata. It can break the steel structures too. This one needs no explanation. Max goes into the future when Monica is not there, meaning he's effectively going 100 years in the future without a way to get back. It never concerns him in the slightest. Awful character writing, but how do they fix this?
Blue light that reached to the past. Was Monica's Atlamelia lending mine its power?
Monica's Alamelia lends Max its power, the ultimate Deus Ex Machina. Then Max defeats Gaspard and he attempts to leave the scene. Not sure where he's going or how he's doing it, but he's going somewhere. And out of nowhere, Gaspard is suddenly mind-controlled by Emperor Griffin. Now, how does Emperor Griffin mind-control someone when he does not have all 3 Alamelia? Think about all the times you could have used this in the story. I joked about putting Max and Monica's faces in the lab in part 1, but really, it has no explanation. Is he only usable on certain people? Why is that? Can anyone be mind-controlled? It would have been very useful at certain points. It's used once and is never explained again when it is one of the most overpowered things you could possibly possess. A few scenes later, Emperor Griffin literally levels a mountain to an army of Cocoa Puff monsters. I'm pretty sure it's implying that he can control anything and anyone. I guess it could be that Emperor Griffin wants to lure them to the past to get their stones, but why? He clearly has more than enough power. He can control monsters, he can destroy mountains, and he has implied omniscience.
Watching this whole time, haven't you? You've seen the boy on his journey.
It's a question of why does he need the stones if he's already so powerful? I suppose the counter-argument would be that he doesn't want to kill them because, you know, he's actually watching and secretly admires them. But he clearly wants the 2 dead. Everything is as heavily implied that he wants him to die. He transforms Gaspard into a mindless demon to kill you. He attacks Pasnos, his minions try to murder 2 at every chance they get. Nothing Emperor Griffin does makes sense. He wants to kill the heroes, but he never does it. He wants to lure them in the past, but he sends his minions to kill them at every chance he gets. He tries to destroy the origin points, but they're the only way for anyone to even get the technology to travel to him and give him the Alamelia in the first place. In Chapter 6, he's able to take the stones. It must mean that Gaspard couldn't in the prologue. Really? It's Dark Cloud 2. Who honestly knows at this point? He claims this is what he wanted. Everything was an elaborate plan to get them to this point.
I got them. This is what I wanted.
And why? Because he wants to destroy the world, of course, and to destroy the world, he's going to use the power of the Majora's Mask to drop the moon onto the Earth. No, it's the Star of Oblivion, not the Majora's Mask. It's funny though, Cyrus and Skull Kid are actually pretty similar. Manipulated by a greater force, plans to drop the moon to kill everyone, asks the main protagonist if they want to be his friend after the final boss fight. It's not relevant, I just found it interesting, especially considering Dark Cloud's reputation as a Zelda killer. Keep in mind, Dark Cloud 2 came out after Majora's Mask. Copycats or not, you decide. I don't know why he bothers though. He has more than enough power to destroy things. He's already destroyed the world without the Alamelia. He can level mountains. Why does he need the Alamelia? Not too sure. He gets all 3 Alamelia, transports the palace to Max this time, and instead of summoning the Star of Oblivion, he claims that he wants to destroy everything before destroying everything.
I'll erase everything from the world just before the real destruction begins.
So he tells him to leave his palace, and then he tries to vaporize them with a laser beam. He wants them dead after all? I thought he wanted him to watch the Star of Oblivion fall. That was a pretty lethal shot. His plan is thwarted because of the unstoppable floating Earth head which is throwing rocks at his castle. You just use the power of transporting a huge piece of land almost 10,000 years in the future, and you cannot defeat a flying head. I don't understand why Emperor Griffin would even be concerned in the first place. Yeah, keep throwing your rocks, dumbass. Big deal. You're in a giant palace, focus on the main target. He doesn't chase them afterwards either. So much for that. They go to Kazaroff Stonehenge, which I feel is a huge cop-out. I'm a bit annoyed at the whole existence of the Stonehenge. Its purpose is to be able to host chrono unions which allow 2 different time periods to intersect at the same time. We're expected to believe that someone decided to create this whole structure for the sole purpose of creating a place where you'll be able to intersect with times 100 years past or future. It can only be 100 years, couldn't it? I assume due to the red and blue markings. Maybe not. Could they open it, decide to go back 10,000 years and bring positives to fight Emperor Griffin? The structure may have not been built at that point, but the unique flow time would still be there. But really, we're told this information because conveniently, the Loon Lamb had just figured out from that incredibly small window of the Ixion departure to the current time, the mystery of the wall murals. How convenient.
The Ancient Ones knew the secret, and Luna Labs deciphered it from their wall murals.
Otherwise, I'm not sure why bringing positives 10,000 years in the past wouldn't be the first option. Why would you even risk the possibility of losing the battle when you can easily just gun down the fortress? Max and Monica managed to open up the Stonehenge. I'm assuming the colors represent the Alamelia, but the two just lost their Alamelia. The Alamelia were taken, but they still somehow grant their power to Max and Monica. It makes you wonder why they would give themselves up in the first place. Alamelia only go to people with good hearts. They want to help the pair defeat Emperor Griffin, but they also want to help him destroy the world. Both of them are polar opposites. They can't be both good. The Alamelia aren't predictable. They just refuse some people, accept others, grant powers for no explicit reasons. They're just weird. And while this is happening, the presumably hours that it takes for Max and Monica to travel back to the 4 dungeons to collect the gems, Emperor Griffin, the guy who just said he wanted to destroy the world, does not destroy the world. He has the power to do it, the Star of Oblivion, but for no real good reason he does not use it. Does he not want to do it anymore? He tries to kill Max and Monica when he gets a chance, so it's not very clear. We have reached the very end of Chapter 7. The Dark Element dies, but the Star of Oblivion is still falling. Cyrus states that he remembers his true responsibility and purpose, the Guardian of the Stars, to stop the Star of Oblivion. I thought the Star of Oblivion was the blue moon. That's not incorrect, is it? Look, there are 2 moons, the Star of Oblivion falls, and there is no more blue moon. But we go back in time, and what we clearly see is that there is no blue moon back 10,000 years in Cyrus' time. So in the 999 period between Cyrus and Max's time, the Star of Oblivion, the blue moon, was created. It was made after Cyrus was born, but what Cyrus implies is his family is a bloodline of people who know how to stop it. The art of destroying the Star of Oblivion is passed down through his family for generations. But it's known that the blue moon had appeared after Cyrus' ancestors had been born, and Cyrus himself for that matter. Wait, what was Cyrus trying to do in Chapter 6 anyways? There was no Star of Oblivion this time, so he could not summon the Star of Oblivion. He must have known that somehow he would be able to travel 999 years, which he would have no way of knowing he was capable of doing so. The idea about the Star of Oblivion is not unreasonable on its own, but it does raise some questions based on what we already know. For one, the Alamelia can only go to people of a good heart. The Star of Oblivion is said to occur when someone gathers the power of all 3 stones. But if the intention was to gather the 3 stones for the ultimate power, well, that's not a good intention. And I assume it's not something that makes up a good heart. It's something that they say, but it really means nothing. The dark element, the pure manifestation of evil and darkness, was able to use them, despite the already mentioned good heart situation. From what I can assume, it's all speculation mind you, the 3 Alamelia were gathered at the Moonflower Palace. They ended up destroying everything. The ancients feared that it would happen again, and they created the Star of Oblivion to destroy humanity if it were to happen again. My issue is that the timeline of these events seems a bit weird. The previous statement made sense. However, the order of events is a bit different in game. Cyrus mentions, the ancients told my ancestors how to stop the Star of Oblivion, but that's impossible. There was no Star of Oblivion. It never existed until sometime after Cyrus' time. Go back 10,000 years, there's clearly no blue moon, meaning no Star of Oblivion. Cyrus's role himself is a bit pointless. His job is to destroy the Star of Oblivion when humans become worthy. The measure of humanity's worthiness is based on 2 kids. The 2 kids who are literally deemed to have good hearts. Yeah, they're good kids, but it doesn't mean everyone around them is good either. It's honestly more likely the opposite. And so what? There was good people in the past too. The whole idea is honestly stupid. These 2 prove that humanity is worthy somehow. Its purpose is a bit weak and doesn't offer a good justification for said purpose. I suppose the purpose that it may have served was what Cedric refers to later on as a dream. That would explain all the plot holes, but I'm not quite sure what their intention was by including this moment. A dream shown by the ancients to warn who? How many people actually saw the majority of the dream? 3. Max, Monica, and Cyrus. Maybe Elena if you count the flashback narrative. What I am interpreting here is that it's supposed to warn someone else. That person being none other than you. It completely fails as a lesson to the majority of the Dark Cloud 2 world, considering only a few people actually experienced it, so this is the only reasonable explanation I can find. A video game to teach a player forgiveness, to be kind, to be brave, and whatnot. I can understand and appreciate those types of lessons, but the inclusion of this potential dream idea is unnecessary to say the least. Maybe it's deeper than what I'm thinking. If you have any cool ideas, let me know. I can't think of any good explanation for it. This part's also unnecessary. They try to illustrate the point that Emperor Griffin really wasn't such a bad guy, but they do it in the worst way possible.
Ruler of Darkness, Emperor Griffin. There never really was such a person. He was just a mass illusion created by the evil in men's hearts.
Monica says it right. Beneath Emperor Griffin, there was something much more innocent. Max, though, he was a mass illusion created by the evil in men's hearts. What the hell is that supposed to mean? He was not an illusion. Yes, Emperor Griffin had something much more deeper than he originally was, but that is not an excuse to make the claim they became that way due to the evil in men's hearts. There's nothing evil about wanting to stop a person who is clearly threatening the very structure of your civilization. Trying to stop him from erasing you from existence is not evil. I understand their message, but it does not work in this case. As a whole, Dark Cloud 2 is a game that does not tell a good story. For all its many plot holes and inconsistencies, the story itself is pretty boring. The potential in a time-traveling scenario is limitless, and with the addition of future technology, you have complete artistic freedom as a writer to really tell an interesting story. With most of these plot holes, they were plot holes because the writer did not want to acknowledge the potential implications of introducing these elements to the story. That was a huge mistake. For example, with the Cape Lighthouse, Max and Monica travel to a different time that contains duplicates of themselves and everyone they know and are stuck there. The game refuses to acknowledge this and acts like it never happened. Think of the possibilities that this would contain if the writers had embraced it. You could actually write the characters as children who use a big ticket item like a star glass and did not prepare for the consequences of it. A chapter where Max and Monica are literally stuck in a different time with duplicates of themselves and are trying to get back is much more entertaining and memorable than generic dungeon floor. They always take the easy way out, and it does not lead to interesting settings. Colossus Mode was a pathetic example of Deus Ex Machina. Why was it necessary that Palm Brinks was saved from the falling Moonflower Palace from a storytelling perspective? I feel that it would be much more interesting to actually have the town be destroyed by it. For one, it would give Max a real purpose against Emperor Griffin. And two, think of the limitless possibilities you could write with this. Palm Brinks is destroyed. That would host devastating implications for the future world. There is so much potential in it, but it's never realized. It always plays it safe and it does not help the game. It actually makes the story a complete joke and always leaves you wondering what if. What if the writers have been willing to go 100%? To give the villains their necessary development, to give the protagonists the humanity need to feel like characters, and to give the story what it deserves. To take Dark Cloud 2 off its training wheels and to respect the huge potential within the story. Two emotionally vulnerable teenagers with crazy levels of power, forced with the responsibility to save the world and with the potential to change time itself. Instead, we are given half-assed character development, one-dimensional villains, and such bland storytelling that cannot be told of literally contradicting itself every other time. People love to say that Dark Cloud 2 is an underrated game. The love child of The Legend of Zelda and Final Fantasy, proving itself to be the hidden gem of the PlayStation 2. Dark Cloud 2 is not underrated. It was completely overrated. I can have fun playing the game. It is a decent dungeon crawler JRPG. Endless dungeon floors are not my favorite, but I will not say that it makes the game bad. I play World of Warcraft. I can understand how someone can enjoy this. What you cannot forgive is the storytelling, the characters, the villains. They are far from well written and definitely do not deserve the constant admiration and praise that they always seem to be showered in.